welcome to ETHR World. This is your host Himanshi Tiwari, and right now we are joined in by a very special guest, Nithya Shanti, who is an internationally respected spiritual teacher, writer, educator and a seminar leader. Thanks Nithya for joining us here. And today we are going to talk about the art of learning and letting go, of course. I'm myself very keen on this topic, but I want to start by asking, how do you define learning?
Learning can happen at different levels. Usually we think of learning as something you study and then you're able to replicate it. A deeper definition of learning would be something that you're actually living. It's not just something you know, but something you live. Like for example, I talk about happiness. So I've read a lot of books about happiness, I've studied a lot of scriptures, but just because I've studied it and can talk about it, doesn't mean I've actually integrated it into my life. So true learning is your application, something that has become tacit, has become a part of you. So for example, I shared a practice called Mahasati in our session. Slowly moving the hands and being aware of the hand movements. Now if throughout the day I'm aware of my body moving, I'm aware of eating, I'm aware of when I go to the toilet, when I bathe, I'm aware of those movements. Now that's an example where it's gone beyond intellectual understanding into actual lived knowledge. So that's my understanding of learning.
That's interesting. So in the pursuit of continuous learning, we often accumulate a lot of experiences and beliefs. So how do you suggest we can actually navigate from those experiences and beliefs and kind of not hold back onto them?
In fact, that was the second part of today about letting go, because in our schools, we are given a lot of accumulated information, but we're never taught to question the information. And what we learned in school may no longer be valid. A lot of the stuff that even today maybe they're teaching may no longer be scientifically true. So we are teaching learning, but we're not teaching unlearning. We are teaching people how to get knowledge, but not how to question their own assumptions. One way that I practice this is just the act of being still and quiet and receptive. So not just always reading, being receptive. And in that receptivity, even if it's a little boring, some kind of integration is happening, some kind of distillation is happening. For example, walking in nature, taking a long walk, not listening to music or anything, not a podcast, just walk in nature. Some kind of integration will happen. Sitting quietly, or maybe just making some notes based on some reflections that are coming. Those silent places, agenda-less spaces, non-busy places are where a filtration happens, a dropping away happens. And I would say also purposely reading a book, reading an article, meeting a person with an opposite point of view. I love meeting people with an opposite point of view. I was in Florida and I met a person who has a lot of guns. I said, guns are terrible, you're killing people, you can have violence. He said, but we live in Florida and there are hurricanes all the time. And did you know after 3 days of a hurricane, there's no food in the supermarket. My neighbors are going to break in to get my food. So he had a very different way of looking at guns. I never thought about it that way. All right, he's not doing it to hurt somebody, he's doing it for self-protection. I never thought about it like that. So not that I want to have a gun, but I can appreciate his point of view. So like this, by opening our minds, one with silence, one with opposite points of view, you learn to let go and upgrade whatever knowledge you have.
Yeah, that's fascinating actually. So in workplace, it's just the addition to the previous question. In our workplaces, we often face a lot of setbacks, failures, right? And a lot of us, including me, we hold on to those failures very close to our heart. So how can we let go of those experiences and open ourselves, for better learning and growth opportunities?
See, first of all, whatever level you currently reached, if you look back, it was a painful process to get here. When you first joined ET, you thought you came out of college fresh-eyed, I've got so much knowledge, and right away you found out nothing you do works. They're not happy with this, they're not happy with that, and I'm sure that was very painful. That hurt your self-image, and it made you slowly grow up and have a growth mindset, right? So similarly, at this current level of your career, this is what you're struggling with. People say things, office politics may happen, opportunities are taken up by other people, or guys go out and smoke and they make decisions and the women are left behind, what just happened? So a lot of things can happen like that. And I would just say that is your current level of challenge. So I would say, let's not say this challenge or that challenge. Let's expect there will always be challenges. Whatever level you get to a VP level, you get to a CEO level, you get to an industry leader level, you get to a even higher level. At every level you will have challenges, and the more important point is to get curious. In this situation, what resources can I bring? In the beginning, we only rely on internal resources. But as you grow further, you go interdependence. You start relying on who is the resource. I know someone. I know something. I know someone who does this really well. Let's get them in. So you don't have to be the expert in everything. The CEO cannot be the expert in everything.
Yeah.
You have to bring in the right people. That's when you go from independence to interdependence. So that's the journey where no matter what challenge you're facing, you'll feel up to it, you'll feel resilient.
All right. That's wonderful advice actually, Nithya. All right. So in the fast-paced environment, we often find ourselves multitasking and striving to achieve more. So in this hustling culture, how can we actually find the right balance between work and life?
Well, first of all, there's no such thing as multitasking because science has shown that our brains, even now, can only think one thought at a time. And our brains are millions of years old, and at least for the last 40,000 years, they have been pretty much quite stable. So what looks like multitasking is actually rapid tasking. You're looking at your phone, and you're dealing with your child, and you're answering the doorbell or some email that's coming. It's not multitasking, it's rapid tasking. And that is going to actually tire you out. It's going to exhaust you. Understandably, sometimes in life, I do have to, for example, I am driving my car and I have to once in a while look at the map. I'll have to do that. There'll be times when you do have to do those things. But try not to make it a lifestyle. Because if you make it a lifestyle, then you will find you start getting burnt out very fast. You get emotionally more reactive. And you operate at a kind of shallow time. The whole day goes by. Things also got done, but there was no fulfillment. So you're ticking boxes. To do. There's no to be, right? And we want you to access deep time. What is deep time? Like right now we're having a conversation. And it's just this, I'm talking to you, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm giving my full attention to responding to what you're saying. So I have begun to access deep time. When you're taking a walk in nature, just take that walk in nature. Talking to a loved one, just talk to the loved one, Playing a sport, just play that tennis, just play that football. Be there, you access deep time. Deep time is fulfilling. So while we may have to multitask some of the time, which is not actually multitasking, it's rapid tasking, try to reduce that and try to create areas of your calendar, 1 hour, 2 hours here, 1 hour, 2 hours there, where you actually block out. You don't have access. In fact, I use a cookie jar, a lockable cookie jar. You can put a timer on it. And I'll sometimes just put my phone in that cookie jar. And the next 2 hours, I can't, even if my phone rings, I can't open it. The cookie jar is locked. And that's my method of breaking the habit. And now I have 2 hours, no phone calls, no WhatsApp, no nothing. And I get good work done, right? So we have to come out of that. And the work and life is also a misnomer. There's just life. There is no work life. There is just life. So why not do the work you love? And why not the major interests of your life, the major hobbies of your life, the vision you have for the kind of world you want to create? Start working on it now instead of waiting for some magical day where everything will be balanced. It will always be a divine mess.
Yeah.
And we have to embrace that divine mess.
That's beautiful actually. Now that's the learning I am taking, to have a cookie jar for myself from now. But to conclude our discussion, what advice would you like to give to people who want to actually start, by incorporating art of learning and letting go in their daily lives?
Beautiful. What I'm doing now is actually pausing. I didn't rush to give you an answer. I actually blanked out my mind and I paused. And I would say the most powerful teaching I have is this pause. If we just pause a little, when our child asks for something, says something, when our wife or husband says something, when someone tries to sell us something, when there's an important decision to be made, pause. Pause for 2 seconds, pause for 5 seconds, pause for an hour, pause for a day, pause for a month. Stop and check. And instead of finding the answer, let the answer find you. Whatever helps you pause, walking in nature helps you, writing helps you, art helps you, music helps you, some other hobby you have helps you. So find ways to find that pause, that gap. And that gap is going to nourish you. That's mindful living, that's conscious living, and that's fulfilling living where there's deep time and there's deep fulfillment.
Well, that's the end for our conversation for today. It was a brilliant and a very enlightening session with you, Nithya. Thank you for joining us. Keep watching ETHR World for more such interviews where we are going to talk about your work, well-being and also your personal growth.